Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network.
So congratulations to the Republicans for continuing to pants themselves, to beclown themselves.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, right? As we always say, for those of us that marinate in this, yesterday is still just hard to... I mean, I guess it's the logical conclusion of this complete clown show this party has become, right? This bunch of bullies and thugs.
And of course, I go super dark with it. Because you know what happened right before the Civil War? There was a caning on the floor of the House of Representatives. There was a fight.
Yes.
Charles Sumner got the crap kicked out of him on the floor of the House of Representatives. And, yada, 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 American Civil War. Oh 650,000 Americans dead. Yeah,
I know, but most of it, it's Republicans fighting themselves, right? I mean, that's what's insane. It's... they're calling each other whores and kidney punching each other. It's like we just have to sit back and watch, I guess.
Yeah, and, I was thinking about this too. No one after that James Comer thing happened with somehow Smurfs. I'm not sure how that incorporates into the situation, but
Chris points out he was wearing a blue plaid suit. I guess whatever.
Oh, so he sees blue and automatically goes to
Smurfs.
Yeah.
Smurfs.
Yeah,
that's
Republican humor is the best humor
because
you have to explain it later.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Well, the thing is, with all of the fighting and fisticuffs, we're not talking about vermin and fascism. So I guess in that regard,
do we need another slogan? Vote for Joe Biden. He won't put you in a concentration camp. How about?
Yeah, how about that? That's a pretty good selling point, I would say. Right? There won't be internment camps under a second Joe Biden administration. I mean,
that's the other thing. You go, are they doing this on purpose to distract from the Hitlery comments? I can't even tell anymore what's distracting from what.
Yeah, I have no idea. But you know what? I mean, I think we can chew gum and bounce a basketball at the same time. I think we can do this. I think we can follow the fisticuffs and also talk about the encroaching fascism in this country. And that, I think, is the hallmark of social media. We can cover all these things and make sure that attention remains and not get too wound down a rabbit hole with whatever James Comer did. But, I mean, it actually brings up a good point with Comer because there's all these land swaps he's been doing with his brother.
Yeah.
And here he is screaming about Joe Biden. Hey, look, check. There was a check for money and brother and Biden and 2018. Don't you see? Don't you see the corruption, Stephanie?
Oh, my God. I think he's just pissy because Mike Johnson has said there's not enough there for an impeachment. And so, I guess they're just going to kidney punch each other and call each other names for the rest of I don't know what their plan is. But
I didn't know. I frankly didn't know Kevin McCarthy had it in him.
Yeah.
He just doesn't seem like the sucker punch kind of guy. He seems very passive, seems very confused. He's to take a swipe at someone's kidney area. It just doesn't.
We don't know if it was deliberate or he just, but although people have said he's done it before, where he's just, they're all just cowards and bullies. It just, he might have just shoved past him.
The NPR reporter said that
he shoved him.
Well,
because she said he shoved him into her, and she was, so she saw it. I mean, she was there. Okay, wait, where I have to ask you, because you were talking about this, because again, so many news cycles, you said the boss is going to try this again. He said so the other day. He plans to arrest his 2028 opponents, among other despotic actions. He said it's on video. That's the difference this time, Bob. It's all on video, and they wrote it down. Project 2025, right?
Oh, yeah. He said on video, his face is on videotape. I don't know, they don't call it videotape anymore, but... He's actually said that if he's challenged, so let's say he wins next year, then becomes president, and then the 2028 election rolls around, anyone who challenges him in 2028, he is going to arrest them.
Yeah.
He said that.
Yeah.
He said that in an interview on television within the past several days. This is a real thing. And so to talk about this, normally, if we were to say, oh, yeah, Donald Trump's a lot like Hitler, isn't he? At a certain time, that would be sort of partisan hyperbole. Now, no more.
Yeah.
This is actually happening now, where there's a plan, there's a website for the plan.
Yeah.
They're already starting to interview people to take over these 52,000 federal jobs so that Donald Trump will have no obstructions when he tries to seize the presidency for life, like his hero Vladimir Putin.
Which, Bob,
that is the end game.
It brings us to your as you often say, this is an excellent time to play grab ass with democracy, isn't it? It's an excellent time.
Yeah. To get
for political
by
tourists.
Nonsense. Yeah.
You retweeted Nate Silver. What has happened to him? He said the other issue is, well, the other guy's worse is actually a non sequitur response to the question, why'd you nominate a guy who was 81 years old? At least Republicans can say, sorry, our voters picked Trump. But Democrats haven't had a competitive nomination process. You just said, Nate, when was the last time there was a competitive nomination process with an incumbent president? Not a mere primary challenge, but a competitive nomination process, as you said, with debates and a delegate horse race, etc. I'll wait. I mean, give me a break.
It's been 43 years, and we know how it turned out in 1980 with Ted Kennedy challenging Jimmy Carter.
Yes.
It weakened Jimmy Carter going into the fight of his life against Ronald Reagan in 1980. We know this. You can say the same thing on the Republican side with, once again, Ronald Reagan and Gerald Ford 4 years earlier.
Yeah.
This is something that the parties don't like to do. If you got an incumbent president, use the heft of the White House to be reelected, unless there's just no chance, unless you're like LBJ and you just have no energy for it anymore, and you're mired in Vietnam or something like that.
Right.
That is an outlier. But Nate Silver should know better. I mean, this is basic political history that even if you don't take into account the fact that there was only one primary challenger in 1980. There is never like an open cattle call when there's an incumbent president, where we have, like it was in 2020, where there was no Democratic incumbent president. You just had a whole bunch of people running for president at the same time. That's what normally happens.
No wonder they want to ban books. Our friend Tristan Snell, who we just had on yesterday, said Hitler was elected Chancellor of Germany with 43.9% of the vote. But because the anti-Hitler forces were divided, Hitler won. Hitler then made himself dictator and abolished free elections. Again, pick up a book, right? I mean,
this and some of these challengers in the general election, whether it's RFK Jr. or whoever the no labels candidate is going to be, or
Jill Stein,
any of these people. I mean, that is they're absolutely taking a chance with democracy. They're making it more likely that fascist Donald Trump will become president. Not less likely, more likely. I mean, look, there's a chance that they may not have any effect whatsoever. RFK will take just as many votes from Trump or whatever.
God.
But the fact is, they're rolling that dice.
Yeah.
They're believing that, okay, I can take this chance. It's it's actually a game of brinkmanship.
Yeah. Oh, no. My stomach needs it to be more exciting.
Go right up to the edge. Yeah. We'll be okay. Don't worry. We can take this chance, and America will recover.
Yeah.
You
I don't know about you.
My
tummy cannot get rumbly enough for right up until the election. I need it to be just a nail biter, Bob.
I know. The next year is going to be madness. I mean, unlike anything we've ever seen before. Just the race between these criminal trials and the actual election itself.
Yeah.
Talk about a rumbly in your tumbly. I mean, my God, this is going to be madness, what we're going through in the next year.
So, Rob Reiner said it yesterday. A vote for anybody else other than Joe Biden is a vote for Donald Trump. And Andrew Juncker said, don't know how to say it more clearly, but to young people especially, if you don't vote for Biden in this presidential election, you might not have a country left in which you can ever truly be free again. And that, again, not hyperbole. I love this sort of like Post-it note someone put on Twitter. It is no longer about whether Trump has any decency, but if we do. And that's where we are, aren't we?
Yeah. That's it. And that's one of the things I worry about the most, is that Donald Trump actually represents much more of America than we'd like to think. And that's what terrifies me in the middle of the night. Like, is this who we really are? Is that what Donald Trump has done? Like, he's actually brought out the real character of America that was buried under decency and decorum, and now it's just like, okay, let's just get our freak on and just scream indiscriminately. And that seems to be in my darkest hours.
Yeah.
That's what I begin to believe. And I hope I hope I'm very, very wrong on that.
But it's all the same. I mean, I feel like don't you feel like we're having like 2016 acid flashbacks already? I mean, this latest news that there's an FBI whistleblower saying Rudy Giuliani was a Russian asset, is when he was Trump's lawyer, which I think we kind of knew that the, New York FBI was dirty. Remember, McGonigal was the first FBI agent they found working for Russia.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just, we are, I think, facing out-and-out treason. Putin's going to, interfere again. On cue, here comes Jill Stein again. I mean, it's...
Yeah. And there are a lot of people, and I think in some cases rightfully so, who are hurting from something like inflation, for example. And we had a discussion on the podcast yesterday about how to actually address this in the course of the campaign, how to talk about inflation.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that it's coming down, and it's coming down a lot, month over month.
I have a headline in front of me. Inflation was literally zero. Economists thrilled with the latest report. But did you literally see that anywhere in the mainstream media, Bob?
Oh, of course not. Of course not. Here's the thing with inflation also. If people are going to vote based on that alone, they need to be aware that if Donald Trump becomes president and fascism arrives in this country and all the accompanying instability that Donald Trump brings to an office like that, which we saw with great horror for 4 years, culminating in the horror of all horrors, which was 2020, the economy is not going to do well in that instability. The economy is going to crash. I mean, I think it's safe to say at this point, given the fact that there have been colossal recessions in every single Republican administration recently, that this is a possibility in and of itself. But then you add in the Donald Trump instability to the thing, overturning so much about how we do democracy in this country. That's going to destabilize the economy. And if you think everything is going to get better by voting against Joe Biden because of inflation right now, I mean, you're sadly mistaken.
Bob, let me just share some of this with you. Economists and investors are cheering over news the Consumer Price Index shows inflation was zero for the month of October, meaning prices on average did not rise. Inflation's receding, baby, exclaimed Professor of Economics, Brookings Senior Fellow. That doesn't seem like the way economists normally talk. He's the Austin Powers of economists, baby.
Yeah.
That means over the past 12 months, prices on average increased just 3.2%. The drop in inflation has been dramatic. In June of last year, inflation was 9.1%. Again, Bob, you watch the media, you wouldn't know any of this. He said, let's call it the Mary Poppins economy. Inflation is floating back to target. Unemployment remains near 50-year lows. Growth remains robust, and inequality is falling. The White House, I think, said at 3.2%, annual inflation is now down by 65% from the peak. Gas prices are below $3.40 a gallon, reflecting an average decline of $1.65 from the peak after Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Inflation has come down while employment rate has been below 4% for 21 months in a row, the longest stretch in more than 50 years, while wages, wealth, and share of working-age Americans with jobs are all higher now than before the pandemic. And he concluded, let the doom and gloomers in your life know you still love them, even if they're wrong about everything. But, this is the point, Bob, where we have to argue about cold, hard facts and statistics, right?
Yeah. And think about it this way. If you're still on the fence with Joe Biden and the inflation issue, in spite of everything Stephanie just said, the problem here is that if you prioritize this too much, what you're doing is at the same time rejecting democracy. Imagine how much sacrifice has gone into preserving democracy in this country from a soldier point of view alone. Think of all the men and women who have sacrificed their lives, their health, so forth, in order to preserve democracy in the United States. And we're going to snap our fingers like Thanos in Endgame and just end the whole thing because bacon is 20 cents more today than it was a year ago or whatever it was. That is a ludicrous lack of priorities. I mean, we need to get our heads screwed on straight. If that's, and I know, and I understand, and I'm completely empathetic to the idea that things cost a little more right now, and that's a struggle for a lot of people. But we don't want to sacrifice, 250 years of democracy and the sacrifice that went along with that at the altar of the price of bacon or the price of a gallon of gas, which Hal Sparks will tell you this afternoon or later in the show, that gas prices are cyclical. Gas will come down in price. It always does. It goes up and it goes down.
And if Putin and MBS have anything to do with it, they'll jack it right before the election to help Trump. But that's a whole
exactly.
Nother,
So we can't vote based on that, especially when fascism is on the line.
Also, the Stephanie Miller Show does not recommend that you eat bacon anyway.
I love bacon
for you. Well, stop it.